I never thought I'd be the one writing something like this, but here I am. For years I believed I had a strong, steady marriage until little cracks started to show. Tiny lies, late nights, strange excuses. I kept telling myself it was nothing until I stumbled onto something that completely turned my world upside down. What I uncovered, and what happened after, changed the way I see love, trust, and even myself forever.
To protect the privacy of the author and narrator, all names and locations are fictional, and the voice has been intentionally modified.
Hey Reddit. I never thought I'd be the guy posting one of these stories. I've read them for years, usually shaking my head or offering advice from the sidelines, thinking I had a solid grasp on what a healthy relationship looked like. I guess I was wrong. My wife and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. Let's call her Emily. We met at a friend's barbecue, hit it off instantly. She was smart, funny, had this intense way of looking at you like she could see straight through to your soul. I fell hard, and fast. She was everything I thought I wanted. Looking back now, there were small red flags, things I brushed off or rationalized. She would sometimes lie about really trivial stuff, like saying she was at the gym when she wasn't, or claiming she didn't get a text I clearly saw her read. I chalked it up to forgetfulness or stress. Everyone lies sometimes, right? We had what seemed like a pretty normal marriage. Fights, sure, but nothing dramatic. Or at least, nothing I thought was unfixable. She worked in marketing, lots of late nights and networking events. I'm a software developer, work from home mostly, so I tried to be understanding when she'd come home late or crash without talking much. But things started to change about 6 months ago. And I mean subtle, almost imperceptible shifts. The way she stopped saying "I love you" first. How she guarded her phone like it was radioactive. How her perfume changed, and not in a "I felt like trying something new" kind of way. More like, "I want someone else to smell this on me." I remember one night, we were lying in bed, and I reached out to touch her arm. She flinched. Like she forgot I was there. Like I wasn't supposed to touch her. That's when the knot in my stomach started forming. I didn't know it then, but that knot was going to become a permanent part of my body for the next few months. It all started with a charger. Sounds stupid, I know. But that's how it began unraveling. Emily had a second phone charger that she kept in her purse, a pink one I hadn't seen before. I asked about it casually, like, "Hey, when did you get this?" And she gave me this weirdly rehearsed answer. "Oh, I've had that for ages. You just never noticed." Except I would have noticed. I'm kind of obsessive about tech stuff, and we usually share chargers. But I let it go. Again. Because that's what you do when you trust someone. Then there were the lunches. I'd ask her what she had for lunch and she'd hesitate before answering. Not just the kind of pause where someone's trying to remember, but like she was editing something in her head. One time she said she grabbed sushi with a coworker, but I saw a charge on our shared credit card from a steakhouse across town. I asked her about it, and she laughed, told me the receipt must have been mixed up, or it was a mistake from the bank. "God, you're paranoid," she said, half joking, half not. That became her line anytime I questioned anything. "You're imagining things. You need to relax. You're being controlling." I started to doubt myself. I'd never been the jealous type, never snooped or tracked her location. But now my brain wouldn't shut off. I'd lie awake at night while she slept peacefully beside me, wondering who she was texting when she smiled at her phone and tilted it away from my view. Wondering why she suddenly had passwords on everything. The last straw came the day I took her car in for an oil change. She'd been busy and asked if I could drop it off for her. I said sure, anything to help. While I was waiting, I noticed her car's glove box wasn't closing properly. I opened it to fix it. Inside was a receipt for a hotel bar 2 weeks ago. Just drinks, expensive ones, but at 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. We'd gone to bed that night at 10:30 p.m., or so I thought. She'd told me she had a migraine and went to sleep early. I checked the date 3 times. That was the moment the knot in my stomach turned into something sharper, like a blade. After I found that hotel bar receipt, everything changed. Suddenly, all the little things I'd brushed off came rushing back like a tsunami of how did I miss this? The new lingerie I never saw her wear at home. The way she started keeping her phone face down on the table. The strange inside jokes she mentioned that didn't seem to involve anyone I knew. The time she said she was working late, yet came home without her laptop. And most of all, the way she'd become detached. Not just distracted, but absent, like I was living with a really convincing clone of my wife. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I wanted to be wrong. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened her laptop when she left it on the kitchen table while showering. I know. Massive violation of trust. But I was already living in a house built on lies. To my surprise, she was logged into her email. There wasn't much, nothing obvious like I love you or last night was amazing. But I found one email thread that made my blood run cold. It was between her and a contact saved only as Lay. In it, she was confirming a hotel booking, same date as the receipt I found. She mentioned a room number and wrote, same place as last time. Let me know if you want to grab dinner before. Last time. My hands were shaking. I scrolled through the thread, but it was mostly logistics, dates, times, some mentions of keeping it discreet. No names. No affection. Like it was routine. That's what hit me the hardest. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This was planned, and it had happened more than once. I sat there at the kitchen table for over an hour, just staring at the screen, rereading the same 5 emails, as if new words might appear that would make it all okay. But they never did. When she walked out of the bathroom and smiled at me, towel around her hair like nothing was wrong, I felt sick. I knew I had to confront her. But I wasn't ready for what she would say. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling while she dozed peacefully like she hadn't just shattered our life into 1,000 pieces. I waited until morning because I needed clarity. I needed proof. I took pictures of the emails, the hotel receipt, even a screenshot of her calendar that had a meeting off-site on the same day. That was her excuse that night. When the sun finally came up, I sat her down at the dining table. No small talk. No warm-up. "Who's her?" I asked. She blinked, played dumb. "What are you talking about?" I showed her the emails. Her face didn't even change. She stared at the screen for a long moment, then leaned back and said, "You went through my stuff." That was her first response. Not denial. Not explanation. Just outrage that I'd uncovered her lie. I stayed calm, somehow. "Tell me the truth, Emily. I deserve that much." She sighed, like I was inconveniencing her, and said, "It's not what you think." Classic. I told her to explain. Here's the short version of her story. A was a client. The hotel bar was where they networked. She had booked a room, but only to rest between meetings because she was exhausted. Nothing happened. The emails were worded weirdly but completely innocent. I wasn't trusting her, and that was the real problem. It was like watching a magician fumble a trick. She wasn't even good at lying anymore. Just grasping at threads. I told her if she wanted to confess, now was the time. That I could maybe forgive a mistake, but I couldn't forgive being treated like an idiot. And then came the twist. She smirked. I swear to God, she actually smirked. "Fine," she said. "You want honesty?" I was bored. "That's it." My heart dropped. She went on, "I didn't sleep with him, at first. But it wasn't just about sex. It was about feeling something. You're always working, always tired, always so predictable." I don't even remember what I said next. My ears were ringing. I was sitting across from the person I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with, and she was looking at me like I was the disappointment. It wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty. And yet, this wasn't even the worst of it. I thought that was it, the truth. She cheated, got bored, blamed me. Cruel, yes, but at least it was out. I could start dealing with it, right? Wrong. That same night, after the confrontation, Emily went out. She said she needed space to think. I didn't stop her. I was too emotionally wrecked to argue. I just sat there, glassy-eyed, watching her walk out the door like she hadn't just burned our marriage to the ground. She was gone all night. The next morning, I got a message on Facebook from someone I didn't know. His profile pic was a guy in his early 30s, let's call him Adam. His message read, "Hey, I know this is weird, but I think we need to talk." About Emily. My stomach dropped. I replied cautiously, not knowing what to expect. Within minutes, he messaged again. "I didn't know she was married. I just found out today. I'm sorry, man." Turns out, Adam was Lay. The mystery man from the emails. The client. The one she wasn't supposed to have feelings for. They'd been seeing each other for over a year. A year. She told him she was separated. That we lived together for financial reasons but were just figuring things out. He believed her. He told me they met at a marketing conference and had been hooking up ever since. Weekend hotel meetups. Overnight trips she disguised as work retreats. He even mentioned a weekend trip to Denver, the same weekend she said she was visiting her mom. That lie still burns. Adam sent me screenshots of messages between them, hundreds of them. Nothing vague now. Full-on I love yous, inside jokes, plans to move in together once things are finalized. She even called me the roommate in one of them. The roommate. That was the moment the betrayal became real. The full weight of it hit me, not just that she cheated, but that she rewrote our life to someone else. She built a whole second relationship on top of the corpse of ours. And she still had the nerve to say I was the problem. When she got home that night, I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just looked her dead in the eye and said, "Adam messaged me." Her face froze. For once, she had no words. For a solid 10 seconds, she didn't say anything. Just stood there by the door, frozen mid-step, like a glitch in a video game. Then the mask finally cracked. "I can't believe he did that," she said, "not I'm sorry, not let me explain, but I can't believe he told you." That told me everything I needed to know. I asked her point blank, "Were you ever going to tell me?" She rolled her eyes and slumped into a chair like I was the one being dramatic. "What difference would it have made? You already treat me like a stranger." I lost it. I'm not proud of it, but I slammed my hand on the table so hard my knuckles turned red. "You lied. You cheated. You told him we were roommates. You made me think I was crazy." Her response? "You were crazy. You were always watching me like I was going to do something wrong. So eventually, I just did." At least then the paranoia made sense. Let that sink in. She was blaming me for being suspicious of something she was actually doing. It was like arguing with a wall made of gaslight and manipulation. She twisted everything. According to her, I was cold, boring, emotionally unavailable, checked out of the marriage. And maybe I was distant sometimes. But I never strayed. I never lied. I never rewrote our entire relationship for the sake of a fling. Then she dropped another bomb. "I wasn't just seeing Adam," she said, looking me right in the eye. I blinked. "What?" "There were others. Just a couple. It wasn't like a thing, I needed attention, okay?" I felt something in me break. Something deep. Deeper than anger. A kind of grief I didn't know existed. My wife wasn't just unfaithful. She was pathologically dishonest. It wasn't just one mistake. It was a pattern. A system. Something she was apparently fine with, as long as she didn't get caught. She stood up, walked past me, and said, "I'm staying at my sister's." I didn't say a word. I just listened to the sound of the door closing behind her. And I think that silence hurt worse than anything she ever said. After she left, I just sat there. For hours. I didn't move. Didn't eat. Didn't cry. It was like my body hadn't caught up to what my brain knew. I wasn't married anymore. Not really. Not to her. What haunted me most wasn't the betrayal itself, it was how easy it seemed for her. How calculated. Like she had rehearsed this exit a dozen times in her head, slowly pushing me out emotionally until I was just another background prop in her life. That night, I scrolled back through our old photos. Anniversary dinners. Beach vacations. That trip to Rome we saved up for. She looked happy in them. Radiant, even. And then I found a selfie she'd taken in front of a hotel bathroom mirror. It was timestamped the same night she told me she had food poisoning and stayed at her mom's. She looked flawless. Hair done, lipstick perfect. I stared at that photo for a long time and realized something truly painful. She didn't just lie to me. She lied as me. She crafted an alternate version of our life and wore it like a mask. To the world, to her lovers, and eventually, to herself. I thought about calling her. Asking her why. Begging for the truth, for some kind of closure. But I didn't. Instead, I called my best friend, James. He'd always been there, even when Emily didn't like him. She said he was too cynical and gave her weird vibes. Funny in hindsight. I told James everything. He listened without interrupting, then said the words that cracked me open. "Dude, she's a narcissist. This wasn't an accident. This was a choice." Over and over. That was the first time I cried. Not loud or dramatic, just silent tears down my face while James sat on the other end of the phone, holding space for me. I went to bed on the couch that night. Couldn't stand to lie in the bed we once shared. It felt like a crime scene. And the worst part? I still missed her. The days that followed were a blur. I worked from home, but I couldn't focus. Code that usually took me 15 minutes was taking hours. My boss noticed, gently asked if everything was okay. I lied and said I had a cold. Truth was, I felt like I was coming down with something worse, some kind of emotional sickness. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my mind like a loop I couldn't escape. What did I miss? When did she stop loving me? Did she ever love me at all? I started spiraling, rereading old texts, obsessing over timelines. I dug through our shared calendar and matched it to the messages Adam had sent me. I even checked credit card transactions for anything suspicious. I found 2 more hotel charges. 2 more lies. I remembered every excuse she gave. Team building night. Client dinner ran late. Car trouble. All fake. Every word a carefully placed brick in the wall she was building to shut me out. But the worst moment of all came when I called her mom. I wasn't even trying to expose Emily, I just wanted someone to talk to. Her mom had always been kind to me, like a second mother. When I told her what happened, she went silent. Then she said, very softly, "Oh honey. I'm so sorry. I thought you knew." I froze. Knew what? She hesitated. Emily's always had trouble being faithful. It happened in her last relationship too. I told her she needed to work on herself before getting married, but she said you were different. That you were stable enough to balance her out. Balance her out. That line shattered something in me. I wasn't her partner, I was her anchor. Her excuse to pretend she was stable while she burned everything behind my back. I hung up politely, thanked her for being honest. Then I sat on the floor and sobbed until my chest hurt. How do you mourn a person who's still alive? How do you grieve a life that turns out to be a lie? That week, I went from being a husband to being a ghost in my own home. And the worst part? She still hadn't apologized. 5 days after she left, she came back. No warning. No call. I just heard keys in the door around noon. I thought it might have been the landlord or a mistake. But no, it was her. Emily walked in like she still lived there. Dressed like she was on her way to brunch. Sunglasses, gym bag, zero shame. She looked surprised to see me. Like I was the one trespassing. I just came to grab a few things, she said casually, like we hadn't just detonated our entire marriage 5 days earlier. I didn't even know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me just wanted to know why. So I asked again, quietly this time. Why did you do it, Emily? Why cheat? Why so many lies? She sighed, this long, theatrical sigh, and said, because I didn't think you'd leave. That sentence will haunt me for the rest of my life. I figured you'd get mad, we'd fight, but you'd stay, she continued. You always stay. You forgive everything. You're the stable one. That's what you're good for. Good. For. Like I was some dependable household appliance. Reliable. Replaceable. Then she got defensive, like she was the one who had been wronged. You went through my stuff, you talked to Adam, you turned my own mother against me. Do you have any idea how that feels? Yes, Emily. I do. I know exactly how that feels. She accused me of violating her privacy, of weaponizing her mistakes. She said I was trying to make her look bad. I asked her, are you even sorry? She looked at me, tilted her head slightly, and said, I'm sorry you're hurt. But I don't regret everything. That was it. That was the moment I knew we weren't coming back from this. Not with therapy. Not with time. Not with anything. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. She packed a bag, took a few things, and left again. No hug. No goodbye. No remorse. Just silence. And yet somehow, despite everything, I still felt like I was the one who failed. After she left, again, I stood in our hallway staring at the door for what felt like an hour. I kept expecting her to come back, like it was some kind of test, like this was all just an awful simulation and I had to pass some moral checkpoint to reset the level. But she didn't come back. The silence in the apartment was deafening. It didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like a hollow stage set, and I was the only one left under the spotlight after the show had ended. The pictures on the wall, the mugs we bought in Venice, the dog-eared novel she never finished, all of it suddenly felt like evidence in a case I was too blind to prosecute. And that's when the real rot set in. I started questioning everything about myself. Was I boring? Was I too emotionally unavailable? Did I ignore signs? Did I push her away? I found myself revisiting old conversations, replaying memories with new, twisted context. That Valentine's Day she said she had cramps and didn't want to go out, was she with someone else? That weekend I had the flu and she insisted I stay home while she ran errands for soup, did she just need an excuse to see him? Every moment of our relationship now had an asterisk. And that messes with your head in a way nothing else does. I started to lose my sense of who I was. I wasn't her husband anymore, but I also wasn't fully me either. I had built so much of my identity around our relationship, our future. We talked about kids, buying a house, moving to the coast. I had spreadsheets, savings goals, 5-year plans. Now I had a half-empty closet and a bed I couldn't sleep in. It sounds stupid, but I remember brushing my teeth one night and suddenly panicking because I realized I didn't know what kind of toothpaste I actually liked. I always bought the kind she preferred. It was a tiny, dumb thing, but it triggered a full-blown breakdown. I didn't just lose her, I lost me. And here's the kicker, not a single apology. No message. No call. No "are you okay?" Nothing. She ghosted our life like it never happened. I wanted to hate her. I tried to. But I still missed the person I thought she was. And I hated myself for that more than anything. A week later, I hit what I can only describe as emotional rock bottom. It was a Thursday night. I'd been working late, trying to bury myself in code, but my mind kept drifting. At 2 a.m., I found myself sitting on the kitchen floor with a bottle of cheap whiskey I hadn't opened in years. I wasn't even drinking it at first, just holding it, staring at the label, wondering how my life had become a cliché of heartbreak. Then I opened it. Then I poured a glass. Then another. By 3 a.m., I was drunk, texting myself in the Notes app, trying to make sense of everything. I wrote down every question I had for her, every insult I wished I'd hurled, every apology I thought I owed for not seeing it sooner. Pages and pages of raw, ugly thoughts. And somewhere between those rambling paragraphs, I wrote this. You didn't lose Emily. You lost the illusion of Emily. It was like something inside me clicked. Because the woman I loved, the one who laughed with me on road trips, who cried at stupid rom-coms, who promised we'd grow old together, that person never really existed. Or at least, not in the way I thought. She was a mask. A performance. And I was the audience who believed every act. That realization broke me, but it also set something free. I remember laughing, actually laughing, alone in my kitchen, tears still on my face, because I realized how absurd it all was. I had been killing myself trying to figure out what I did wrong, when the truth was brutally simple. She chose to betray me because that's who she is. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than grief or rage. I felt clarity. I poured the rest of the whiskey down the sink. I deleted every picture of her from my phone. And I made an appointment with a divorce lawyer the next morning. Because whatever we had was gone. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to start crawling out of the wreckage. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and swollen eyes, but for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt decisive. I called the law office as soon as they opened. A calm, professional woman named Sandra picked up, and when I explained the situation, she didn't gasp or pity me. She just said, "You've already done the hardest part, recognizing it's over. Let's handle the rest." That single sentence felt like a lifeline. I spent the next few days gathering documents, marriage certificate, financial statements, the screenshots and receipts I'd collected. Every time I found another piece of evidence, another lie on paper, it hurt, but it also fueled me. It gave me direction. Emily, of course, texted me out of the blue 3 days later. "Emily, can we talk?" No apology. No context. I stared at my phone for a long time. The old me, the one still craving answers, would have called instantly. But instead, I typed. "Meet about what?" Her reply came fast. "Emily, I think we're both overreacting. Maybe we can work through this with counseling." Counseling. After years of lies, after admitting there were multiple affairs, after reducing me to some background prop in her drama, now she wanted counseling. And here's the unexpected twist I didn't see coming. I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing. Just a strange, icy calm. No. I've already contacted a lawyer. She didn't reply right away. Hours passed. Then finally. "Emily, wow. So you're just giving up?" That made me laugh out loud, actually laugh. The audacity. The manipulation. She wanted me to feel guilty for choosing self-respect. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Later that night, I packed up the rest of her things, clothes, photos, random makeup she'd left behind, and set them by the door. I didn't rage, didn't burn them, didn't even leave a note. Just quietly reclaimed my space. For the first time in months, I slept in our bed again. Alone. And you know what? It didn't feel like a crime scene anymore. It felt like mine. 2 days after I packed up her things, Emily showed up unannounced again, this time with tears in her eyes. But these weren't the raw, messy tears of someone truly remorseful. These were controlled, deliberate tears. I could tell the second I saw her face. She said she was just here to pick up a few things, but she lingered in the doorway, looking around like she was walking through a museum of her own crimes. Then she turned to me and said, in this soft, practiced voice, "I think I might be pregnant." I felt the air leave my lungs. My hands went cold. A million thoughts hit me at once. Is it mine? Is this just another manipulation? Do I even believe a word out of her mouth anymore? I managed to choke out, "Pregnant, with whose child?" She didn't flinch. "Yours, obviously," she said quickly, too quickly. Then she added, "But I haven't taken a test yet. I just feel different." That's when I saw it. The calculation in her eyes. The way she watched my reaction, like she was gauging how much control she still had over me. And for a split second, I almost felt it, the hook she was trying to sink back into me. Because despite everything, the idea of becoming a father, even under these circumstances, made my chest ache. But then I remembered Adam. And the other she admitted to. And the fact that just a week ago, she walked out on me without a shred of regret. I said, as calmly as I could, "If you're pregnant, get a test. If it's mine, we'll handle it legally. If it's not, that's your problem." Her jaw tightened. "Wow. You don't even care." "No," I said. "I cared for 6 years. Now I care about myself." She stood there for another minute, waiting for me to break, to beg, to tell her I'd take her back no matter what. But I didn't. I just stood there, feeling that icy calm again. Finally, she grabbed her bag of things, muttered, "You'll regret this," and walked out. No pregnancy test. No follow-up. And you know what? That was the first moment I truly believed I'd be okay. Because her words didn't hurt anymore. They didn't land. It was like watching a bad actor in a play I'd already seen 100 times. The door closed behind her, and for the first time, it felt like the chapter really was ending. After that last visit, something shifted in me. I didn't check my phone every 5 minutes. I didn't wake up in the middle of the night expecting another bombshell. The silence in the apartment started feeling less like an echo chamber and more like peace. I met with my lawyer, signed the initial paperwork, and felt an odd sense of relief wash over me. Divorce wasn't just an ending, it was an escape hatch. And slowly, I started putting myself back together in ways I didn't even realize I needed to. I changed the bedsheets, the ones we'd picked together at some home store years ago. Bought new ones in a color I liked. I threw out the mug she'd always used and got myself a ridiculous oversized one with a dumb slogan, "Debugging Life." I started cooking again, not the meals she preferred, but the ones I loved and hadn't made in ages because she thought they were too heavy. Little by little, I began reclaiming my own preferences, my own routines. I even started going for long late-night walks, just to clear my head. No destination, no purpose, just me, the cool air, and the sound of my own steps. And here's another twist I didn't expect. Adam reached out again. Not in a weird way, he just sent a message saying, "I'm sorry again. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." I didn't know. I surprised myself by replying. We ended up having a long conversation one night, not as enemies, but as two guys who'd been played by the same person. It was strangely healing. We even laughed, dark humor, but still laughter, about some of the lies she told us both. He got the same story about her mom's migraines. Unbelievable. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't alone in this mess. The identity crisis I'd been drowning in started to feel manageable. Because maybe the truth wasn't that I'd lost myself. Maybe I was finally starting to find myself, separate from her, separate from the lies. I wasn't healed yet. Not even close. But for the first time, I could see a path forward. It's been a little over a month since that last encounter, and the papers are officially filed. She hasn't contacted me again, not to check if I'm okay, not to explain, not even about the so-called pregnancy. Which, let's be honest, I'm almost certain was just another manipulation attempt. The first few weeks were hell, but lately, I've started to notice something strange. I smile more. I breathe easier. I'm not walking on eggshells in my own home. The betrayal still stings. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. There are mornings I wake up and feel a dull ache in my chest, like I've lost a limb that used to be there. But then I make coffee in my ridiculous mug, put on music she hated, and realize I'm still here. I survived. And I'm learning. God, am I learning? I've learned that love without honesty is just theater. I've learned that someone can look you in the eye, say I love you, and still be planning their next lie. I've learned that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, and it's not your job to try. Most of all, I've learned that I deserve better. We all do. So, if anyone reading this is in the gut-twisting place of suspicion or half-truths, listen to your instincts. Don't ignore the little lies, they're often the roots of something much deeper. And if you find yourself where I am now, staring at the rubble of something you thought was forever, know this. You will rebuild. You will find pieces of yourself you didn't even know you'd lost. And one day, the weight on your chest will lift, and you'll look around and think, I made it out. I don't know what's next for me. Therapy, maybe. New hobbies. Hopefully, new love someday, but only after I've spent some real time learning who I am without anyone else's shadow hanging over me. For now, I'm just free. And that's enough. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new stories.